time. I'm joined by Chris from Greenfellas and DJ from Rogue One Radio. So in this episode of the Comic Club, we're going to be diving deep into the story of Batman and Son. This is going to be the first 8 issues of Grant Morrison's Batman run, which is split into 2 parts. Written by Grant Morrison, and the art is done by Andy Kubert, as well as Jesse Delperding doing a lot of the inking for it, and John Van Fleet doing art for one of the issues that we will be diving into in just a bit.
And so that's a crazy one.
Oh, yes. We'll be getting right into that one. But yeah, so the first bit that we'll be covering here is issues 655 through 658, which is the main beat to this Batman and Son story. And so, what's everybody's overall thoughts of this first 4 issues? Chris?
The first 4 issues?
Yes.
I enjoyed the first 4 issues a lot. It was a good story. Familiar characters. It flowed well. It was clear where the dips and the ebbs and the flows were of the peaks and the valleys, I guess you could say. Well written. First 4. I liked the character growth. It was fun. Character growth was fun for Bruce Wayne especially.
Absolutely. DJ, what were your overall thoughts on the first 4 parts?
I really enjoyed it. It was something new to me to get back into comics. So I kind of had to get a steep learning curve. And I ended up reading the first part twice in a row to finally get the, as Chris was saying, the ebbs and the flows and the way that the comics actually read now. The storytelling I thought was great. I couldn't wait to read more. So very well done. Plus, on top of that, Andy Kubert's art, phenomenal as always. He's such a fantastic artist.
Absolutely. I loved all the art that he did with all these issues. They were all fantastic. And these first 4 issues I went through very quickly. They just flew right by, and I think that just shows how good of a story this was, and I really enjoyed it. And so with that, we have go
on. One thing I do want to say is how quickly I went through it. I felt like wait a minute, am I done already? Is that issue that short? And it wasn't. It just was very easy to read. And although I feel like one of the issues was exceptionally short compared to the others. I forget which one it was. It might have been on the back half, though.
Well, speaking of individual issues, we'll just go ahead and start diving into each part, I guess. So, on the first part, we have this big opening with Batman and Joker. The showdown, and then all of a sudden there's this other Batman that appears and then just shoots Joker in the head. As then revealed in a conversation after that all the major criminals are now put away. And so, right off the bat, this story just begins in a big way. Having that iconic Batman feel that you're used to of Batman vs. Joker, but now Joker's out of the game. And it's then also revealed during that conversation that with Commissioner Gordon that it was this ex-cop that shot him. And that plays into bits later on that we'll get into. But then, right after this big opening, and, all the villains, it's said that all the villains are put away. It goes right into Bruce taking a vacation. He goes over to London, where he is off at it's a fundraiser of sorts. I don't remember exactly what it was for.
Yes, it was a fundraiser. Yeah, yes, it was a fundraiser.
Remember what it was for?
Africa.
Okay, yeah. And so he takes this vacation, and while he's on the way there, we see that the League of Assassins threaten Kirk Langstrom, aka Man Bat. At this point of the story, he's cured from the Man Bat sort of disease, but he still knows, like, he still has like vials, and so they're wanting a vial. So the League of Assassins are then asking from him vials of the Man Bat serum, and so then we actually see Bruce at this fundraiser. He's trying to learn how to be a billionaire playboy, and
relearn, I guess.
Relearn. Yes.
Relearn. And let me add, the inclusion of Dr. Langstrom was really, really cool as a 90s kid, because Man Bat was one of the first villains in the animated series.
That's right.
That they showed. I
was the
believe
very
maybe
first.
even the first.
I was about to say, he might be the very
might be
first.
the very first. And so it was really cool to see him included in this, which kind of excites me. And this will be for our further down the road in our conversation about the DCU, of what that means for the DCU and when we get that character in the DCU.
Absolutely. The only other thing I have to add on about this summary of this issue is it then ends off with Talia and a boy that we later learn who he is, spying on them with an army of Man Bat commandos. But yeah, so right. And so anyway, this is, I thought, a great setup to the first part to this story. There is a lot that they set up here. Definitely a different direction for Batman that I really liked. DJ, what were your thoughts on this one?
So, I mean, right out of the bat, you have, it opens with Batman and Joker. So automatically you're hooked. I'm like, ooh, all right,
Absolutely.
What's going on here? And then you get the additional Batman. I'm like, wait, what? Hold on. I was looking at and got so lost in the art as well. Just looking, it's like, did I miss something? Is there like a double, or
You only see him in that,
I couldn't figure it out.
You only see him in that like one shot, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, Batman doesn't normally kill. I mean, I guess he could be forced to or whatever, but it didn't come from him. So, I was like, wow, all right. Something else that struck me was the condition of Commissioner Gordon in this. The art that they have. There's one panel in here, and my page number is going to be a whole lot different. I wish I had the comic actual page, but it's in the bottom right hand corner, and you see that has that half grin that from whatever the Joker had done to him. It's just like, how surreal is this? Right. And it really sets the stage of how dark this is going to be. And I thought it was absolutely interesting. And I also had to look and see which Robin this was as well. Again, I've been out of the comic game for a while. But I know from watching some of the other live action or animated shows that how many different Robins there were. We actually see which Robin it is fairly soon. We see that, we already get this layer of intrigue on, hey, there's a new Batmobile, but it's not being unveiled yet. So it's like, ooh, all right, well, all right, so that's to come. So I'm going to put that in my, in my cap for a little bit later. And it seemed like Bruce didn't know what to really do with himself. And again, relying on Alfred and, hey, you got to go over here and you have to get back into this portion of your life. You've been so consumed with this aspect of it. We need this other part as well. So go do this. You do you. And then we get, the wonderfully staged fundraiser, so you see Lindstrom in there. So I kind of already knew kind of what was going on. I'm like, all right, so we're going to get Man Bat in here somewhere. But again, it didn't happen in the way that I expected it, which was really cool. Kept me on my toes for the entire episode. I loved it. And then the extreme foreshadowing and the shadowing of this young boy and Thalia. And it's like, oh, all right, well, what's going on here? And was not what I was expecting at all, and had me hooked. So yeah, great way to kick off this series.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was definitely intrigued knowing that we were going to be getting Damian Wayne eventually, how Tim Drake was going to deal with it. So that, to me, right from the beginning, knowing that it was Batman and Son, knew what we were getting, you know, and knowing the kind of Robin Tim Drake's a very emotional Robin. Very emotional Robin, while like someone like Dick Grayson is a very methodical and reserved, not even reserved, but more like he doesn't let his emotions control how he reacts on the battlefield. He's more strategic, more
strategic is a better word.
Yeah, strategic is the word I was looking for. So I was very like already seeing how Tim Drake was reacting to the whole Joker thing. I was like, oh man, this is going to be good. And then going on to how Bruce Wayne not knowing how to be Bruce Wayne anymore because of how consumed he's been. It's interesting. We get a very in-depth look at that later in the second half of the run, in the very first issue of the second half of the run, 663, where, you know, it's more like a short story than a comic. So like it's good foreshadowing there as well on we knew Joker wasn't dead, you know, and you know, we know a shot to the face wasn't going to put Joker down. So the foreshadowing of Bruce Wayne not knowing what to do with himself and him having to relearn, you knew there was going to be a point where he was going to be Bruce Wayne, and you know that he was going to be mad at himself for it. And it did happen, that he was going to get caught off guard by something. And it was going to turn the tide because he was going to figure it out. So that the good foreshadowing from the very first issue on stuff like that.
Yeah,
absolutely. You all really covered up you know, a lot of my sore points. I was thinking like it was just a great setup overall, that it really did. Just everything with a Joker being shot right off the bat, you know, getting you right into that feel of Batman and Joker was absolutely great. Seeing the setup with what they're doing with Kirk Langstrom was great. I love the whole fact of actually being able to explore more Bruce, and that's something I loved seeing throughout this whole storyline. Especially with so many stories, you just don't get to see Bruce himself that much. And so I really enjoyed being able to dive into Bruce Wayne himself in this, and that was really good. But yeah, great setup overall.
Yeah, and a great final panel too.
Yes.
Great final panel.
Absolutely.
Of that to set up the whole thing.
Talia and
a
an
young
army
boy
of man bats.
Yeah, man bats staring at a screen. Is that him, mommy?
Right?
Is that the man? Is that the bad man?
Right? Exactly. And then right from there into the next issue, it kicks up pretty quickly. You know,
yeah.
You see the man bats go right in. You know, Batman tries his best, but you know, there's just too many trained assassins. You know, whenever you have the League of Assassins and
they're turned into man bats,
they're all man bats. That's a deadly combo right there. Very.
I want to again. I can't wait for like later when we talk about DCU, like scenes like that. like would be so cool live action. Anyway,
It'll be
moving
awesome.
on.
It'll be cool if we ever get to see something like that. Absolutely. But yeah, but there's just too many man bats for Batman to deal with, where he gets knocked out, and then the Prime Minister is then captured by the League of Assassins, and Batman wakes up, and it's then revealed that Bruce and Talia made some love one night, and while he was drugged,
Yeah, unwilling,
unwillingly.
unconsensual. Just say no. Remember, no means no, kids. No means no.
Right. So and then
Unless you use a love potion.
pretty much, and then Damian Wayne comes face to face with his father there.
Yeah. And this
So much.
just like imagine like what you're going through if you're Bruce Wayne right now.
Right.
It's just trying to get a little vacation.
First of all, the panel of the lovemaking with him with just the cowl on.
Right?
It's so,
It's so funny.
like she knows he's Bruce Wayne by this point. Why is the cowl on?
I mean, she's known. It's just how
Yeah.
Batman does his stuff. Just
I
let Batman be
guess.
Batman. I guess. I don't know.
I guess. This is just such a weird art choice there, I will say. But I mean, it's perfect character for like perfect characterization of Talia al Ghul. They to a T. It's this bitter, vengeful woman. Don't cancel me, internet. Vengeful woman. Like, and that's what Talia al Ghul is, another driven by emotion character. I mean, the Batman is an emotion driven comic, so I guess all these characters having all these high strung emotions, it's supposed to be that way. And it's just, yeah, that's, man, just the introduction of your son, that, and he's basically genetically modified is what she tells him too. Like she tells him straight up, he's a super kid who's been trained as a killer since the day he was born.
Yeah.
Yep. And she also uses that there too at the end of like, hey, you need to watch after him now. He's like,
He's your problem now.
keep him over now. If you don't watch over him, this prime minister dies.
Yeah, it's like you're blackmailing for child support.
Exactly. Essentially, yeah.
Don't be a deadbeat dad.
Don't be a dead.
It's so funny.
And
Yeah, there was a lot of interesting things in this part. The fundraiser that they're at for this Action for Africa is they're using like retro art as their really centerpiece, cool. Which was really interesting to see. On the walls, they have a lot of different art hanging up there in sculptures and references. I don't know if you guys noticed, but some of the characters in the that are in the audience or in attendance of this fundraiser, there's one that's got like Nicholson's eyebrows.
That's funny.
I didn't catch that.
There's a guy that looks like Val Kilmer. One of the guys looks like Tim Burton. I mean, I'm just like, wow. All right, so they just forget they threw these people in there.
That's funny.
And yeah, I mean, at least to me, that's one of the things that I was like, here's all these elite people, and we're going to throw them into this fundraiser. And of course, Bruce Wayne, being Bruce Wayne, meets Jet, and so that sparks a little interest. At first, I thought she was a decoy and was planted there. But it's like, all right, well, I guess it's just Bruce being Bruce. But as you said, this one to me felt a little short. Maybe because like most of this one was a fight with the
Absolutely.
overwhelming odds between not just one man bat, but man bats, and Batman, and he just gets overwhelmed because there's just so many of them. Um, and yeah, then you get I don't know that after that he awakes, and that yeah, that really odd panel with the cow still on and nothing else, and I'm like, uh, I mean, they weren't in a hurry because his clothes are all laid out, so
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't.
all right, it wasn't like it was just like a thing of passion and oh, just leave it on and who cares? No, I mean, yeah, it was just really odd. And then the quip of I imagined you taller. I'm like, okay, that's the first thing you're going to say to your father is, oh, I thought you'd be taller.
Especially when seeing that video evidence of him too that he was just looking at moments ago.
Well,
Not
he
moments
also
ago,
was,
but
yeah, but it was also from a distance.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I mean, looks great, but I'm like, all right, that's really what you want to say there. All right.
right.
It reminded me of General the Anakin and General Grievous line from
Oh, right.
was it
Revenge of
Attack
the
of the
Sith.
Clones?
Back to
Revenge
the
of the Sith.
Clones.
Oh, Revenge
No,
of the Sith. What? Yeah,
At
at
the
the very
no. Oh,
beginning.
at the beginning. That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that one off line.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you'd be younger, huh? I thought you'd be taller.
Other.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this issue was full of that fight at the beginning. It was so quick and just so awesome too. You know, like just like the I don't know, like fan nerdgasms, I guess, of just seeing Batman fight so many man bats, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, man bat's been a big enough villain as is of just being a man bat that it's never really been trained to fight. He just knows how to use his man bat powers, right? But now then having an army of man bats, it's a lot of them. It gets, you know, just combining those two aspects of okay, they're already assassins that are hard enough to deal with, and now they're man bats. It's just wild and a lot of fun that I had with seeing that whole fight, and just like all the art with it too, which is great, done by what's his name, Kubert.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andy Kubert.
Andy Kubert.
Andy Kubert. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah,
So,
weird love scene, and yeah, you all pretty much covered it up pretty well there.
So curious, is all right. So for those that are listening in, I got this digitally, not a physical copy, and it's the deluxe edition, and it has both parts of the story. I think we're just covering part one today.
First half of it, yeah.
But I'm just curious. I'll show this. So is the last frame the one with Damien with the sword and Batman?
I believe.
Believe so.
I'd have to,
yeah, I'm going on now. Yeah.
Because what's
know.
the next
I
one?
No.
So I have
No.
this one,
What's the next one?
and then the last
No, the last
one that I have is this
That's
one.
the
It's a little
cover of
bit
the
of.
next one.
Is that the cover of the next one?
That's what. Yeah, that's the cover of the next one. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So yeah, again, the difference between physical and digital media
We all
is pretty crazy.
we all read it digitally, or me and Chris did. We just did the individual issues from DC Universe Infinite.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
That was it. We were just seek something called issue. There we go.
Back in my
Double
day,
checking.
they didn't really have digital issues when.
Well, yeah, neither did I back in the day either.
Yeah.
But as I'm older, it's much easier to read.
Oh, I agree. And then if the print is a little bit smaller, I can zoom in and actually read it.
Yeah.
It sure came in handy.
It's nice. Yes. Absolutely.
Definitely. All right. So guess we'll just dive right into the next part now with part 3. So this one takes a little bit of a time gap after the last issue. We see Damien now in the manor and in the Batcave trying to get adjusted to this new way of life that he's just not used to. He's not used to the sort of like morals, and I don't quite want to say rules, but they are kind of like rules, that Batman has, what he expects from the modern, I guess, Robin or sort of ally that he'd have to try to take in. But then there's this threat that arises, somebody known as the Spook. But whenever Batman gets there, his head is missing. Who could have done that? And then right after that, there's this big showdown between the current Robin at this time, as we're talking about, is Tim Drake and Damian. They have this showdown in the Batcave that where Damian came out on top, with leaving Robin injured on the floor, and then Damian wears the Robin outfit and then goes up to Batman, and he lies straight in Batman's face, saying, "Oh yeah, Tim quit being Robin, and let's go stop my mother now." and that's what we see in this issue. I thought it was a great issue with having seeing Damian try to adjust into Batman's new way of life here. There's just all the interactions in the Batcave was just great. Seeing, just it really goes into the whole thing of, is it okay to kill or not kill? Batman's always strong into the, hey, you shouldn't kill anybody. But then Damian goes in and just beheads the person that Batman was trying to find, rather quickly. Because right after he finds that, next thing you see is he's over with Robin and beating his butt. So, yeah. DJ, what'd you think of this one?
To me, so far, this is probably the weakest one of, at least as far as dialogue goes. But it's also the deepest one as far as philosophical points.
Right.
I'm not a fan of whiny characters. I really am not. You can say things, and you can hear just the pitch in Damien's voice, in this episode, where, well, we didn't do it that way, and no, I just say it normally. I tell my kids this all the time: stop whining. You want results? Don't come at me with a whine. Tell me what you want, why you want it, and we'll discuss it and have a normal conversation. But don't whine. It just grates on my skin. But the dynamic between Damien and Tim, I loved it. I thought it was great. Hey, I'm his son. I should be here. And it's like, yeah, but you're adopted, and the back and forth between the two, I thought was great. I love seeing the art of the Batcave as Tim's being shown around. You get those classic scenes with the Joker card and the big penny, which is just iconic. You start to see things like the Batmobile, and it's not put together yet, and Damien's fighting along the way. It's just give me what I want, or I'm going to take it. And hey, I can also see his need to prove himself. I need to be worthy of being Batman's son. So I'm going to go find this guy that he's looking for, and I'm going to take care of it. And he did it in the way that he was taught. And now they have to overcome that. Which I really enjoyed that part of it. I just wish he wasn't as whiny as he was. Art was fantastic throughout. I enjoyed it.
Definitely.
I think he's supposed to be whiny because he's a spoiled brat. I mean, we know, we hear him say, I was allowed to do whatever I wanted to because she was never around. Like, so, uh, she didn't care about me. Like, and again, part of you's like, is this an act or is this real?
Yeah.
Because the League of Assassins is very disciplined. So it'd be very hard. It was hard for me to believe that they just let a kid go, especially a Talia al Ghul's kid, just roam around and do whatever the fuck he wanted instead of just being disciplined and being trained and being a general in the League of Assassins, So that to me, like, threw up some red flags. And then, him going out and doing whatever he wanted and killing, again, if he really wanted to be like Batman and knew so much about Batman, he would know that Batman doesn't kill. And so if he's trying to prove himself to Batman, he would try and prove himself to Batman when he definitely did not try and prove himself to Batman. He just tried to do what he thought was the way Batman should do things, which to me is very different. And through like this issue, while it was cool to see the dynamic, it definitely was even cooler for the red flags about Damian that it threw up. And then of course, again, Tim Drake being emotional and coming in and instantly being offended and getting defensive, and then Damian getting the same way, because whether he's putting on an act or he's really wants to be Bruce Wayne's son, or is Bruce Wayne the bad man? Dun dun dun. We'll find out later in the run. And then also this issue had probably my favorite line of the run, and it was we read All-Star Superman last, and that was very homey and like farm boy, and then you hear you got cursing right away, and I love it. But then one of my favorite lines came from this, and I've got it up. Hold on, let me go back to so I can see, because my old ass eyes. And he says, Alfred goes, "Allow me to show you to your temporary quarters, young sir." And Damian goes, "Fuck you." Right. And Alfred, this here comes my favorite line. Alfred goes, memory lane." My favorite line of the whole run, because it really personifies the growth of every single member of the Bat family, from Bruce Wayne through every protege of Bruce Wayne, and the constant of Alfred having to deal with the headache of some sort of emotional kid or spoiled brat, and so it speaks volumes to Batman, the IP.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was great.
Here we go again.
Right. It's great. Like, just like I said, seeing all the relationships in between Damian with all three members that we see in the Bat Cave / Manor was just great. Especially I think is in this one where like Batman also, like, you could tell Batman's, he's really trying to like go through and like take his time with him, and trying to help him adjust. And then he just bursts out and yells at him, and that was such a good, crucial moment too, because you could tell like Batman wasn't trying to be that way, and then Damian just gets there and just bursts that bubble, and so, but yeah, it's such a great relationship building issue, You know, just showing the differences between Damien and just the family overall. Absolutely. And so we'll go ahead and get into this last part of the main 4 issues of this. And so this here we see them finally going back to the Batcave after Damien, you know, left Robin on the floor, and then also finding Alfred in a closet as he goes off.
Yeah, that was great.
Right. You know, and then they're like, "Oh no, we need to go stop the League of Assassins now. You know, there's bad things they're about to do." And so they go take, you know, in Batman style, you know, to be able to reach there in time. What did they take? They take a bat rocket. A bat rocket.
And yeah.
Such classic Batman style there, you know.
Yeah.
Classic Batman styles transportation there, you know. And so they get back into London, stopping Man-Bat's slaughtering innocents. You know, they get to stopping the plan that the League of Assassins had, or that they were trying to do. And then Talia reveals that, well, you know, I just want family now. And Damien's like, yeah, I wish I had a family now. But then after Bruce, you know, is like, no, I don't want to be with you. She's like, okay, fine then, it's war. And then while they're on top of this submarine, she's like, okay, I guess you got to choose who do you want to be with, Damien. And then it just blows up, but we don't find anybody.
Yeah, this
Chris?
Another great line in this issue is, and another great flag raised about what Damien's actual intentions are on the whole. I know everything about you. You didn't know I had a rocket. It's like
Bat rocket.
Bat rocket. And then the fight was really good. I like the way the explosion left you on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Until you get to the next issue.
Yep. Until the next. We'll talk about what's next in a moment, but you know.
But yeah, no, I like the art, the fight in general, just the Talia being, again, these emotional characters in Batman. It's emo superheroes, you know.
Right.
It's what Batman is when you're reading Batman. You got to read it like that, like you're listening to an emo band in the background while you're reading it. Yeah. Like that's what you have to do, because people are screaming at each other and being all mopey and sad, but then being angry and bipolar and schizophrenic. It's just all these emotions thrown into it. It's fantastic, and the artwork does an exemplary job of mimicking the emotion and the explosions and the screaming and the fight, the punches. It just does a great job.
So much great stuff in this. What I thought was a really good conclusion to this 4-part story that they're specifically trying to do with this. You know, the main Batman and Son story part here that they were doing. But yeah, I mean, you know, you see the sort of wrap up from last issue. You know, so what exactly Damien just did, and you know, and then being left with having to work with Damien. You know, great being able to see them actually work together here against sort of like this common goal, I guess, until they until that ending of the showdown with Talia, and you know, they just try to turns into Fast and Furious for a moment. I just want family.
Yeah, but I mean
it makes sense for Damien, though.
It's Bat Family, though,
right?
You know?
I mean, it makes sense for Damien. Talia was just like, really, you're just.
Well,
you know,
remember, all the Al Ghuls are very family oriented.
Sure.
Very family oriented. They're like loyal and all that with family. Family is very blood family, especially.
But she thinks she had a shot with Batman again.
They've got a complicated history.
They have a complicated history. Yeah.
It's complicated.
But I like hearing that line of, you know, after she declares it's war, Damien's like, no, I just want family, goddammit. You know?
It's about family.
And so
you know, why do I have to choose? You know,
exactly. And just like, I want you all together.
Yeah. which I think is probably what she wants to, you know, and yeah, I guess that's to come. But yeah, it's it was really cool. I liked again, just to echo what you guys said, the way that it ended on that cliffhanger. I thought was spectacular, and I was like so ready to continue the story, and then
and then
And then
and just I don't know. Is there anything else we have to say about this?
I don't think
Is there-
so.
is there?
I think
No?
I
Okay.
think this is just it was because well, except for we were ready for it to continue
We were
and see
ready
what
for it to
happens
continue.
next.
So
And then we
yeah.
got a novel instead.
And then we got it's a really weird like visual novel, you know. The issue numbers took a break here, right? So these issues that we
Yes.
just were talking about were 655 through 658. There's a 4 issues in between, written by another writer. You know, anybody that knows comics, you know this happens all the time of writers changing, especially as they're trying to find well, okay, who's gonna be the next main writer for Batman or Detective
Mhm.
Comics or whatever big run there is. And so there's other story in between, and then it gets back to into Grant Morrison with 663, and this is such a weird issue, and this is actually the one Grant Morrison Batman issue I've read before reading into this story, and so I knew
Oh.
what was to come. But well,
Oh.
I didn't know the first time I read it, of course. But you know, I open it up, and what do I see? It's a visual novel, all right. It's pretty much
Is
a
that
whole
what it
chapter.
is though?
a whole chapter
I feel like it's a
accompanied
short
by
story.
short story chapter, you know, whatever it is. It's pretty much a
10
whole
chapter
little-
short story.
right, 10 chapter short story with really
A
weird
few pictures.
Yeah, with pictures done by I mentioned earlier, John Van Fleet,
Jonathan Fleet, yeah.
which is like these weird like they look like 3D images most of the time. You know,
Yeah.
it was really
Yeah.
weird. But yeah, in the story, you know, it shows it's this lead up to showing like this rebirth of Joker. You know, you see him turn on Harley at the end, which I feel like
Yeah,
is,
that was cool.
interesting. Yeah, it was a cool way to get into it. But yeah, this one took me a bit to actually sit down and read. Because you know, it's just not as easy to just sit down and read, like, you know, versus like, you know, whenever you're reading a 20 something odd page of, you know, of a regular comic with these
Mhm.
pictures, this is very quick, right? But this is
Yeah,
just
like 10,
it's
15
so-
minutes
right.
usually, yeah.
This one it just takes longer, and it's just like I was just so caught off. I knew it was coming, but like it still just took me a bit to just kind of like, I don't know, switch into the mode of, okay, this is what I'm reading versus a regular comic. And I remember the first time I read this, it was hard for me to get into the story they were telling. And maybe part of that was because I didn't know a bit of the context, especially with that whole fake Joker, or not fake Joker, the fake Batman going shooting Joker. So I didn't know the
Mhm.
context of why the Joker was so heavily bandaged here and whatnot. But the second time around, I was able to appreciate, even though it still took me a bit to get through, I was able to appreciate this story a bit more. And really, I guess, understand what they were trying to do and get into it more.
It was a really good story.
It was a really good short story,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also just such a weird transition
Out of
too.
place. Yeah,
So
out of place.
Yeah.
And it kept you you didn't know where it was leading
Mm-mm.
fully until the whole revelation.
Mhm.
But the imagery was really cool.
Mhm.
Using like especially the funeral procession in the beginning
So
was
messed
really
up.
cool. So messed up, but really cool
Mhm.
imagery. And then just all like the Batman figuring it out was really cool imagery. The way they wrote it, and just tying all the characters together and again, as a 90s kid, and at this point, even if you're not a 90s kid, you know what Harley Quinn's voice sounds like.
Yeah.
However you've heard it, whether it's the movies, whether it's the Batman in the animated series where she originated, where she was supposed to just be a knockoff character, and she was so popular that they kept her on as a regular character.
Now she's like deeply involved in anything.
Yeah. And it was just the way the turning on her was a gasp moment, because it's rare to see Joker turn on Harley. And then Harley turn on Joker.
Mhm.
You know, you saw both, which was cool because you saw Joker turn on Harley, and then Harley convinced Joker not to turn on Harley because Harley convinced Joker she would do what he wanted, at least give her this Joker smiles.
Such an interesting triangle that they just made there.
Yeah,
It
and
was
then Batman comes in and interrupts the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Joker, and then Harley shooting Joker.
Mm-hmm.
The imagery, that gun is so like, at first, when I first saw that gun, because they don't show it in that scene, they show it earlier, and all you see is like the tip of it. I thought it was the bat grapple gun at first.
Mm.
It looks a little bit like that without the grapple hook on it. And so I was really confused at first, and then I realized it was Harley. And yeah. So yeah, it was really, all the imagery was really cool, and just like the winds and the suspense of the short story was excellent.
When I first got to this point, I thought something had happened to the download. And it was something, and I was like, what in the world? How, all right. One, the art style is completely different, but I love it. I absolutely love it. And then the first line on the page, there's something about clowns at a funeral, and it's hard to say if it's sad or if it's funny. And I was like, wow, okay. And I thought it was dark before, but hold on to your seats, folks, because you're about to go on a ride.
Yeah, and at first I was like, oh my gosh, did Joker die again? And they're doing it behind the scenes. But then as I read, obviously I realized no, but yeah, that I forgot about that line, and that was it's a very good question.
Yeah,
really good opening.
And I thought it was a really good story. I liked the way that it was presented. I just wasn't sure I was still reading the same series until you get to the end and you say, oh, okay, I see now how it's tying together in here. But just the way that it's presented was really like a Tim Burton-esque type visual picture that goes along with it. How dark and lots of background shadow with against very stark brights that are at the forefront, and it creates such depth in the pictures. It is absolutely amazing how it looks. But yeah, I don't know how much more I could say. It took me for a shock, but once I got into it, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I guess I'm in the minority with you all, compared to you all here, but like I could not get into the pictures like that much. Like most of them, I was just like, okay, these are just weird. I don't care for them that much. Especially like these old 3D models that obviously didn't age that well. Probably really cool for the time, but like looking at it, I was just like, these are so weird. It's weird. I don't know why they couldn't just do like a regular artistic sort of thing. Like some sort of, I don't know, Arkham Asylum-esque drawings or something that they could have done with it. I don't know, but I just could not get into the art of it overall. And it took me probably like a third of the way through, maybe even half of the way through, to really get into the story itself as well. But those final few chapters were done really well. Really, really well. And just saying that whole revelation of Joker being like rebirthed in a way, it's really cool. And I like the way they do that because, it's obviously Joker going on to his next sort of thing, phase overall in the comics, which we'll see later on at some point. And I just always find it fascinating where you see like these character transitions, and Joker, he's such a big complex character to where, you just never really know what to expect from him. And so then it kind of makes me wonder, well, is this what he goes through like every time almost, Does he sort of like go through this sort of like mental transformation every time, between every era or whatever happens with him?
Yeah.
And so it was really cool going into that. And that one chapter where like it's just him alone in the room, and you kind of get into a little bit of his head, kind of, not too deep, but a little bit. And so just going into Joker in a different way, I really enjoyed. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole metamorphosis and the different personalities and the talking of which Joker is gonna come out now, and Harley talking about all the different Jokers. And one thing I didn't bring up, just the creativeness of what, like, Batman figuring it out because Harley using a specific name that was, she knew Batman would figure out. It was all seemed to be part of the plot to bring Batman there, but not to kill Batman, but to kill Harley.
Right.
Which was crazy because this is what I was talking about earlier with the whole Bruce Wayne not figuring out who he is, but he's always gonna be the straight man to Joker's comedian,
right?
To Joker's weirdo, and this issue proved that. That's what the whole point of this was to say they could both, the first 4 issues, I think we're supposed to lull you a little bit into thinking that he's going to be able to be a little more Bruce Wayne, the dinners, the, hanging out with the son, going to London. Even though there was some Batman stuff in between, he fought being Batman, while Joker just made him realize he always has to be Batman.
Yeah. There was one graphic that was in there, and it shows a square, and it says life and death, and then the joke and the punchline. And after reading that, I was like, okay, yeah. Now it's that that balance that's there, that the symmetry,
balance to the force.
Yeah, it rhymes. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I thought, after taking it in and seeing it and actually digesting it a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, then I was really confused on what we'd get next, and so
next.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Exactly. I think that's a good way for us to go to next.
Exactly.
But what are we gonna get next after that? And what we got next, I don't think I was ready for that either.
What are you talking about? Bruce getting a date? Bruce gets a date, and then he goes to find a killer. He's wanting to find this killer cop. Connecting to this last issue in a way. Or not the killer cop, but who shot Joker, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so he wants to go find him, but instead, what does he find? He finds a Batbane. That's only what he's dubbed as. Is Batbane.
Yeah. Yeah, and the pimp thing, and the cops, and the dirty cops, and the...
Well, he then, while he's trying to fighting him too, he then gets, like, distracted, and then gets his ass beat too. You know, I was trying to
Yeah.
think about this black. What was it called? The Black Casebook.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
he's like beaten up, and then it's trying to like give an ode to like Batman Nightfall and whatnot. But yeah,
Yep.
it's definitely
Yep.
interesting. I will say though, this Black Casebook is something. So whenever I was looking at like recommended sort of reading for this, they actually made a comic collection known that they call the Black Casebook,
Oh, cool.
and it's a
Hmm.
collection of different Batman and or detective comics. I don't remember if it's a
Yeah, it
combo or
makes
just one of
probably
them,
both. Probably
but
both. Makes
then
sense.
includes different sort of issues of like I guess these big mysteries that's included in this Black Casebook, and
That's really good. How
it
many
is like
issues was it?
I don't remember how many, but it was like the one recommended reading that I saw before going into this run of like, okay, this might be the only background knowledge you might want to read, but it would definitely be something interesting to go back into reading at some point. But yeah, um, you're saying about the dirty cops. What were you saying about that?
Well, I just thought it was a really weird like the whole pimp interaction with the girls, and it was just a weird way to get to the the Bane bat
Well, it's just crazy
cop.
too, is because you don't
Like,
expect that at all.
no, that's not who I was
And
expecting him to find when he walked into there and found the mangled girl.
right, right. No, it's not at all. It's really interesting too, and um, what they're setting up with all that stuff is just interesting too. And you kind of get a hint of it in the next issue, which I will get into in just a bit. But seeing this dubbed as a as a ghost of Gotham, you're trying to figure out, I guess, exactly what that is, and then you see this. It's just weird. First you see a Batman with a gun that shoots Joker in the head, and then after that you go see this Batman that just beats up Batman. It seemed rather kind of easily. This Batman had his mind distracted, which is kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as the title of the three ghosts and after the reveal of Batbane, I was like, all right, so this is number two. Number one was the cop that shot Joker.
Mhm.
It'll be interesting to see who they pull in for the third one.
Right.
Um, and yeah, I was
Yeah.
really I thought the exchange with Batman and the pimp was really odd. Deshaun, a word. Okay, so I guess Batman already knew that this guy had information, or it just I was trying to figure out how this fit into it. Um, and it just seemed one the art on this guy. I didn't like the art on this guy. I just he looked goofy to me,
That
more
Venom
than
man.
more than pimps normally do. Because yeah, it just I don't know. The guy looked weird. Had a weird facial structure. So yeah, that was kind of odd. And then just how graphic it got once he started exploring around and seeing girls in various states of, I guess you'd say, decay or mutilation. It's just, I was like, wow, all right, so this is really going into a dark, dark place. Um, and yeah, and then you get this big guy that shows up, and I'm like, again, is he hallucinating, or is this an actual threat? Is this a physical being, or is has something happened to him where he's just actually seeing something? And I again thought back to the first one. Was like, all right, was that really another Batman, or is he seeing something? How warped is his head at this point? And we've seen Batman get warped.
And well, especially because he had that fever dream
Yeah,
that we don't know, and then we talk here about the Black Case book, and like, is it real or is it not? Alfred thinks they're not. Bruce thinks they are. So it's a very interesting conflict there too between Alfred and Bruce.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, a very interesting and intriguing episode. I wasn't sure where they're going with it, and yeah, that fight did not uh, take long. Uh, it was not drawn out at all. Just a quick scuffle, and Batman is leave battered and bruised in a puddle of his own blood and vomit.
Yep.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Chris, do you have any other thoughts on it?
Just when he's left battered and bruised, and he sees that vision of the three Batman, but he also sees
next issue.
That's next issue.
That's next.
Is the beginning of next issue.
Beginning of next issue, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was right at
well,
the end.
I mean,
of this.
we'll go right into it then. All right.
Yeah,
I don't really have much else to add.
Yeah, because I don't have really anything else to
me
add.
neither. Me neither. You all covered it all really well.
Yeah. So
nothing much really add.
I will say that I don't know if you saw, but I did find the issues. The Black Case book is 12 issues.
Okay.
And it's from Detective Comics, Batman, and one issue of World's Finest Comics.
Interesting.
And so I found the official DC page, which shows the book, but there's a CBR article that actually tells you the name of all the issues. If you
nice. Well, we will.
So, yeah, look at that.
We'll figure that out sometime. We'll look into those.
Mm-hmm.
But it would definitely be very nice background reading to this issue and this next one, which is literally called the Black Case book. And so here we see Batman's beaten, bruised out on the street, and we actually see civilians help him. He's like, he directs them to one of his penthouses that he could just go
Roxy, yeah,
right, he could just go right into, and calls up Alfred asking for help, and he's spends very little time recovering, but yeah, that's when you see this vision. You see that one Batman with a gun that shot Joker in the head, and then you see the Batman, and then there's this other one sort of shadowy that, as you said, Damian right up front, in front of all of them. A very interesting foreshadow. And then, so after he recovers, he has his rematch with Batman with Robin. So this time they actually tag team him. Win.
Yeah, because Robin goes out and is all angry, and
he said very emotional.
Yes.
Very emotional, and all.
Tim Drake again being emotional.
And then this time, as the cops arrive to the scene and Batman's fleeing, he's like, "Oh, I'm getting you now," or something. I don't remember exactly what he said there, but he is, he left a mark of disgust with the police now. Now seeing two ex-cops or dirty cops, part of, whatever plan this is that's going against him, being two of the three ghosts of, what is it, Gotham that they called? Yeah, Ghosts of Gotham.
Ghosts of Gotham, yep. And then he goes and has that conversation with Gordon. So, very good job of the essence of Gotham PD. How it's always got those dirty cops that are going to be against even the top brass. I mean, Gotham is notorious for being corrupt, cop wise. So
absolutely
well done. And but then Gordon is always wholesome. So good job,
definitely
separating the two well.
Yeah.
And then at the end too, we see a couple big teases as well for like what they try to set up later on. We see a tease of, we finally see Talia back at the League of Assassins base, and you see Damian all hurt here, and they put him into like a, I don't know, I guess like a back to tank of sorts.
Like an incubator, I guess.
Incubator, back to tank at work, pretty much the same thing. But yeah, they're trying to heal him up there.
Well, but no, that
But then
they
also
didn't just heal him up.
potentially
They
try to
added
modify him or something.
organs.
Yeah, right.
Well,
There's all that
they took organs from something and harvested organs and
trying to
put them,
modify him and
give
stuff.
them better organs and make them stronger. And we
It's very
have the
interesting.
technology.
Right. Exactly. And then there's also this tease of, Bruce Beck with the lady from earlier that we saw at the beginning of like these what is it? Issue before. And then you see this tease of, well, somebody watching them. But who is that?
Mhm.
Hmm.
So yeah, so with this one, I feel like the beginning of it kind of went pretty traditionally as I thought it would. Of course, he'd recuperate and try to go back after Batbane. It was cool seeing actually Robin and Batman tag team him there. But I don't think there's really anything too surprising here. I mean,
Yeah.
typical, I guess, way to try to wrap up, because I kind of view this as kind of like a two-issue sort of story here, until I guess we see what they try to do next with these teases. But, obviously it doesn't really connect to that much to, like, really what's next.
No, and then nothing does again. Well, it
Mhm.
does. The whole thing does eventually, but I feel like there should. I'll get into it when we talk about next issue. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with next issue, but I feel like there's stuff. There's stuff for sure to
It's
talk
definitely
about.
weird, and yeah, we'll get
Yeah,
into that in just a moment.
yeah. This one just you're right. This feels like more of the. This needed to be expanded more, maybe for closure. But then you go into it, you think, again, it's another issue where then you think that you're gonna get something different next issue because of what
Right.
they do. So they've taken out Batbane and Dirty Cops,
So,
and all right, that means there's one left. All right, they're gonna
right.
go after it. And is
Who's the
Damien
third
gonna be
ghost?
involved? Is it, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, Damien's the third ghost. He's gotta be, blah blah blah,
Possibly.
possibly. Or because you're gonna see Damien fighting side by side with Batman being the third ghost. I mean, against the third ghost, and Tim Drake's even gonna come in, and there's gonna be all three of them.
Who
But
knows? Who
who
knows what we'll
knows?
get?
So, but really, you're right. This issue was just getting rid of Batbane.
Right. Batbane, and then, there's these hints of what's next that we don't really see. But
Mm,
we'll get into what's there in a moment. DJ,
Yeah.
is there any other thoughts on this issue you
Well,
have?
this issue is kind of the one that was starting to cement my idea of how much of this is actually in his head because of what he says while what Bruce says while he's trying to recover in this vision that he has. And I'm like, all right, well, was it he's going crazy. And so yeah, I thought that was interesting, and it's like, all right, well, yeah, no, they're actual people, and now they're going to try to take care of it. I thought that the uh, Bruce rubbing his suit on himself was kind of odd. Um, pheromones. It's it's I'm the alpha, and oh, okay. But did you have to, smear your suit that you took over a board meeting with to do that? It just felt a little odd. There was a line, and I don't guess it was in this one. Maybe it was in the one before, but I kind of had a flashback to like a Spawn episode with Billy Kincaid, and they're talking about, oh, we found a hand
Oh,
in
with
her
the
handbag,
definitely.
and that reminded me of like the finger painting and arc that they had way back when Spawn first started, and I was like, oh wow, all right, so yeah, that's pretty dark too, and just the way that it made my head go back that far to a different comic, and it's like, wow, yeah, this is it's really stimulating to me in the best way possible. Um, and it made me start to really enjoy comics again. I enjoyed reading up to it, but just the way that it tied a lot of older memories into me, I found extremely fascinating. Loved the fight with Tim and Batman together to take out the Bat Bane. But yeah, it's like, all right, now we have that. What's going to be next? I enjoy the interaction with Gordon. He kind of brings it back to center, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. All right, now where are we going to see this? And then I was like, all right, well, now Damien's hurt, and they're just going, we're not going to let him heal. We're just going to completely rip out all of his organs and give him brand new ones, and he'll just be even better. Okay, that was kind of odd. And yeah, I got the back to scene in there. And of course, Bruce back out on a date, earn some time. All right, let's unwind with some hot female somewhere, and yeah, and somebody's watching, but who?
Who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, and that leads us into interesting last issue to end on here, I guess. If we're instead of continuing this story,
Time jump.
Not quite a time jump. It's just like a different universe that's pretty much explored here, or alternate sort of what
Is
if.
it though?
I read it as I think it's more of like a what if sort of thing, is what it is.
I read it as it's future Damian Wayne.
Right. I read that as like a what if future Damian Wayne sort of thing. Like this is an alternate universe sort of thing is what I was thinking of this. But so exactly what is this, right? So we actually see Damian
666.
Right, 666, right? We see Damian here as Batman, taking the mantle. He takes out somebody known as the Bat Devil. And he has his own like gallery of thugs.
Third Ghost of Gotham.
Ghost of Gotham, right? And then during the fight, and then even after it, you sort of see, Damian just sort of like talk to himself about how he just knows he will never be as good as Bruce, and I really like that, And by the end of that fight, he kills Bat Devil, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry for breaking the rule, Father. I promise I won't do it again, but here, I just did it again." And so I really liked sort of all that with seeing him, him referencing back to Bruce and all of this, and him trying to he's trying to take this mantle, and he knows he can't live up to that mantle, and he also knows that he'll never be as good as his father either. How he takes out the bad guy is he, I don't think that's how he finishes him off all the way, but like the second last thing he did is he like booby trapped it, right?
Mm-hmm.
He talks about, okay, yeah, in order to win this, he knew he had to cheat, and that's what he did.
That's what he did, yes.
And so
it wasn't really. That was weird to me because it wasn't really cheating. That's what Batman does. He does booby traps and things like that. The only difference is he doesn't add the killing part at the end.
I can see that.
And so like he didn't really cheat to me. And
well, to me though, whenever you look at Batman fighting somebody like this, right? I feel like he'd try to go more hands-on, because I feel like he only uses his other gadgets unless he absolutely has to. And I feel like maybe in this scenario, at least maybe what Damian was thinking was, well, maybe he'd still go on with that more like hands-on approach, maybe.
Yeah, but it's a supernatural being, and Bruce Wayne was smart enough to know to maybe you have to use you have to use a little gadgetry and ingenuity to take on something like this. Hence the whole Black Casebook stuff.
Right.
I mean, this is that supernatural stuff that you have to use your super smarts to really figure out, and then sometimes that involves using tools. So to me, I was a little, this was a very weird, and again, me feeling like it was future Damien rather than Elseworlds alternate universe Damien. Maybe he had something to do with that, because I feel like there's a missing issue of after the whole back to tank thing and just doing like a 5 or 10 years later or something like that, and then showing him like reconciling and then becoming picking up the mantle because he's reconciled with Bruce Wayne or something to transition better,
Yeah. In fact, I was thinking that this might have been like um a dream or a hallucination while he's in the Bacta tank or the healing tank or whatever you want to call it. And that this is, and that's the way at least I was reading
That's
it.
a good way to look at it too. Yeah.
That this is what he's thinking of and this is the future. And to the point of, I don't think he was cheating. Hey, sometimes it takes a little kryptonite in order to get your mission across and to be able to defeat somebody. Now, he did it Damian way and ended up killing the guy, but it takes a lot to take care of somebody, especially supernatural. You got to use every trick in your bag in order to succeed. So yeah, it didn't bother me that much there. Again, we're back to the art style that we originally were, full of color. I really enjoyed even the backgrounds on this. The only thing that kind of freaked me out were like the little doll things that were in here, because
that was odd.
Yeah, the eyes to me is what really got us. Like, I don't quite understand what was going on with those. Just looked weird. But yeah, I enjoyed the issue. Again, I thought it was, hey, this is something that's probably going on in his mind as he's healing. And he has that choice of, and he realizes I'll never be the true Batman like my father was, but hey, I'll be good enough for now. Then even the last line, the apocalypse is canceled until I say so.
Right.
So I was like, oh, all right, that's the way to end right there. It's a great last line.
Very Damien line for sure. Yes. I really like that mentality of and that outlook on how to read this issue. It really, because it takes my view on how I read it and legitimizes it to the point, but it also then takes Spencer's and legitimizes it. So it takes both of them and combines them. And so I think that's a really, DJ, that's a really good
I was just about to say. That's
a fantastic way to look at it.
I would have never thought of it that way.
No, me either. And that's perfect because of the way the last issue ends.
Exactly. Seeing Damien there and who knows what he could have been thinking, and just, that's great. And because I always read that, like, it just felt like a what if story to me, essentially, or Elseworld story that's just thrown right into the middle. And it feels out of place again, and even more so than the like novel chapter that we read, because it's like, okay, this is an Elseworld's tale here. What's going on here, right? And I really like that that's just such a great connection there. Fun fact:
there was a line a few issues back where, it's during the fight with Tim, which was the third one, I believe, and he says, I'm going to inherit everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, all right. So the kind of the path was set. So what's it going to look like when he inherits things? And to me, this is the issue where if he inherits it, this is what it could look like.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, great way to look at it. It really helps bring more closure to the whole Ghosts of Gotham thing as really well, because you're like,
it's just such an interesting way that like that's the third ghost of Gotham, and it's not
Hmm.
one that Bruce encounters here. You know,
But it's not Bruce who was supposed to encounter the ghosts of Gotham. It was Batman who was
sure,
supposed to
sure.
encounter the
I
ghosts of
I just
Gotham.
find it
So,
interesting though, because it's like
oh,
okay, the first
sure.
two is definitely with Bruce, and then this one's in this Elseworlds tale that doesn't feel as connected.
Well,
At least
here's
at
the
first glance.
well, yes. Well, yes. But then also, I think we're not given. This will be so. So I think this is a good way to transition and segue into talking about DCU
Sure.
because I could see this last issue
Mhm.
being somewhere in the middle of a movie, and
Well, maybe like a flashback,
but no,
or not flashback, but
no,
like a
as the way the
Snyder
DJ
flash
sees it,
forward.
as a no, as him in the back to tank actually
Right.
doing like a what if situation in his head, and then later in a movie though, him and Bruce and whoever else is Bat family at that point do encounter the third Ghost of Gotham. I really think this DCU movie, after understanding that this whole run is about these Ghosts of Gotham, that's what Brave and the Bold is gonna go towards.
I really like the idea of having this issue in particular is like say like a few minute flashback that they could just throw in there. Like I think it'd just be super cool seeing this like alternate Batman. Like I've seen this suit around as like other like cosmetics and like like games and such, right? But I've never really known like what is the suit specifically, other than maybe it being dubbed as like Batman 666 or something like that,
Yeah.
or whatever it may be dubbed as. And so it's cool to actually see, well, okay, this is that appearance of that suit, and yeah,
So
Yeah, like
um, there's a myth in
ooh, a myth.
Chinese culture
oh,
about I guess the supernatural coming to a person, and if it's not satisfied, it will follow along to the sons.
Oh, okay.
So if for and I remember this from a Bruce Lee. It was they explained it in the Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, and it was at the very beginning on this curse, this demon that keeps following along this family line, and if a member manages to escape, then it goes down to the next family member down the line. And to me, that was kind of what this was symbolizing as well with the ghost of Gotham. It's we see that Bruce had to face two of these, and if Bruce, for whatever reason, wasn't around or didn't get a chance to face this third one, this is going to fall to Damian now. He has to deal with this third ghost of Gotham. Yeah, it's
that's such another cool way to look at it.
Yeah,
uh,
definitely. And you can see the League of Assassins having those kind of beliefs. So Damien being in that tank dreaming it could they be like, all right,
So
well,
that's
it's my
nice.
responsibility now. And again, I I think that seeing this whole story arc, these Ghosts of Gotham story arc, could be really cool on screen.
Definitely.
yeah.
Uh, Spencer, what are your like thoughts on how you could incorporate that family as well as this run into a movie?
Ah, it's gonna be interesting because I feel like in the place of like you'll still get Tim Drake, right? But I feel like since the rest of the family will already be established at this point in the movie, they're also gonna take tidbits and like showcase other members of the family, right? And that's gonna be a big crucial on screen thing to get. is with this being the first time that we actually ever see like full on Bat family on screen. They're really going to hammer in on showing more of the Bat family as well. And maybe we'll even get to a point of saying, well, okay, if they do more of this stuff with like all the Man Bat stuff, maybe we'll see more than just Tim Drake there or something. Like maybe we'll see like a full like Bat family war or something happen, if they try to do more of this part, that earlier part of that story.
Yeah, the Man Bat War could be cool as like a really big part of the movie. Absolutely.
It could be very cool. I think it would be awesome to see. And not only that, but like the only interesting thing that like while I see them doing it, or at least some of it, it'd be interesting to have those Man Bats be the first before getting a legit actual Man Bat on screen. And so maybe they could also try to finagle it and do it as well. What if we saw actual Man Bat for a moment, but then he gets captured by the League of Assassins, and that's how they get the serum?
Oh, what? That would be really cool. Like the opening,
like one of the
Man Bat.
opening bits.
Yeah. Is a fight with Man Bat.
Fight with Man Bat, and then after he's defeated, League of Assassins gets him or something. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I love that idea. I do.
And being able to actually incorporating Man Bat on screen would just be amazing, right? Like we get to see so many villains on screen, and while Man Bat is definitely a smaller villain compared to a lot of them, with the whole storyline of him using the serum sort of just like legitimizes him a lot more. I feel like,
and yeah, and it's again that connection to the animated series. It would really, really drive that nostalgic feel of this is a Batman movie for everybody.
Absolutely, it'd be great. I would love, like I just said, like we've seen so many villains on screen, and it really sounds like they're wanting to do new stuff with the DCU, and that's why I'm really excited for it. And so, just being able to get a Man Bat on screen would just make me so happy. And then also seeing like Damian on screen too will be really cool too, and being able to explore all that history with them, and just it'll be really cool if they can pull it off right.
Yeah, and we've gotten Ra's al Ghul in the Dark Knight trilogy, so then it'll be interesting. A totally different universe, Batman,
right,
with a different relationship with the Al Ghuls.
Yeah,
it'll see, because in Batman Begins, it's he's, and then Batman and Dark Knight Rises, then you get their version of the Al Ghul daughter. So it'll be interesting to get a new version.
Absolutely,
because that was Talia in Rises, right? It wasn't Nessa, was it? It was Talia.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Talia.
So, it'll be cool to see this version, who is emotional in the same way, because I kind of got the same kind of Talia in Dark Knight Rises, but she went about it her battle a different way. The Man Bat, she didn't go all Man Bat crazy.
Right.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to get that, and hopefully we do get Man Bat. I want something new. We've seen Joker, we've seen Riddler, we've seen Mr. Freeze. Regardless of how people like those movies or not, we've seen different iterations of Joker. We've seen the traditional. We've seen Bane in a couple of different ways. I'm glad that we're going to see a different aspect of Batman, throwing in Damian. I would love to see Man Bat be in there. We've seen different iterations of some of these characters, and if we were to get something like Man Bat that people are not familiar with, it's really going to get them interested in going and seeing a movie, or even if it's just on HBO, to get them into it again and to reignite that spark for the DCU that hasn't been there yet. We need new stories. So, and I think this would
Absolutely.
be a great way to get the audience back invested into it.
I think having a new League of Assassins at the core of it will be great, because then you'll have, and introducing Damien to it all will be a great it'll be a great way to have this sort of like family storyline that is going to reflect off of each other, between the main Bat family and this League of Assassins. I think it could work out really well seeing both of those all together for an intro story for Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to wrap it
Yeah,
up, don't
yeah,
you, Spencer?
absolutely. So that was the second episode of the Comic Club here. Uh, and where could everybody find you all? Chris?
Well, you can find me over on the Green Fellas on YouTube and Pyron Knight on Twitter, Pyrin, Knight with a K. And yeah, come over, hang out at the Green Fellas. Spencer's there all the time. Kev loves them. And help us get to 1,000 subs so we can actually get monetized, so we can in turn then raise more money for charity, because we raised $7,500 for charity last month. So that was freaking awesome. Go check out all the charity streams, including all you comic book nerds. We ranked all 96 Marvel minor league baseball logos. They were designed by Marvel artists. Go check it out.
And aren't you wearing number 1 on your hat right now?
I am wearing number 1 on my head right now. Go check him out.
That was a crazy long but fun ranking. DJ, where could the people find you?
So on Twitter, Red for Charlie. Also find me at Rogue One Radio and Twitter. Also on YouTube. On Thursday nights, we do our live show. We play some cool jams and talk some pop culture. Rogue One Radio on YouTube as well. So yeah, we have live chats, and Spencer's there an awful lot supporting us, and we do appreciate it. But yeah, that's where you can find us.
All right. Links to all that stuff will be found below. Thank you for joining for the second episode of the Comic Club, and I'll see you all next time in the Dingus Den.